Fun thing about Hangouts on Air, when you ask for 20 seconds right before I push the button or right after I push the button, I can't give you the 20 seconds because I've pushed the button already. That is a fun fact. But everyone, yeah, this is the Pocketnow Weekly podcast, and our intro music is about to go. There it is. Oh, delightful. Google's new Nexus phones are here. T-Mobile's customer data is all over the internet, and the new iPhone can double as a submarine. On top of that, LG's looking to revamp the concept of the videophone and the smartwatch. At the same time, Microsoft's about to dump a load of Windows hardware on the world, and HTC is readying a familiar face for a fall launch. All this, plus your listener mail on episode 168 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow.com, where we discuss smartphones, tablets, wearables, all that stuff you wished you had when you were a kid. From Boston, Massachusetts, I'm Michael Fisher. It's raining outside, but we're probably not going to get hit with a hurricane. Fingers crossed. That's a good thing. Stephen, that probably means the same for you, too. Stephen Schenck is in New Jersey. He's our co-pilot today. Welcome aboard, sir.
Hi, Michael. I'm one step up from, it's technically not raining inside, but there's water coming up from underneath, so it's all balancing out.
Yeah, so you're just going to swim around a little bit. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll
That's
float
fine.
through it.
Just keep your mic close to your face. For the first time on the Pocketnow Weekly podcast, we have Dushyant Shrikhande. I said that way better in the pre-show, but welcome aboard, sir.
Yes, hello everyone. Well, the weather in Indiana is like changes every hour, so I'm used to it.
Well, good. And a returning friend from Greenbot, one of our oldest podcast friends, meaning one of the people who's come on the show the most often and for the longest time, Florence Ion.
I'm not that old.
I know.
I'm not that old.
I know. I tried to dig myself out of it.
And I'm praying this rain doesn't keep me in New York.
Yeah, you're in New York City. You normally are
places to be.
I'm sorry, I'm in totally an echoey room and everything, but yes, I'm in New York without any of my stuff.
You have nothing to apologize for.
Yay!
Jules
nothing to apologize
Wang
for.
is running. Jules Wang
Every
is
woman's dream.
running the board at not at WERS, but normally he does. The time in Boston is 2:21 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone. My goodness, it has been quite a run-up to getting this show off the ground. We thank you for your patience, those of you watching the show live, and we'll get into some of that in a little bit. But it's a great story involving the Samsung Gear S2 driving on the highway and the Olive Garden restaurant.
So you did get the Gear S2.
I also went to Olive Garden.
I know. No, it's the best. Well, all right, we're going to compare notes on that. But first,
okay.
I have something very important to say, and this is crucial. Everyone needs to listen up.
Yes.
Do you need a website? We all need a website. Well, we all have websites. But if you out there need a website, why not build one yourself with Wix.com? When you're running your own business, as we know many of you do, thanks to you taking the survey, which we asked you to, thank you for that, you're bound to be busy. Too busy. And because you're too busy, it has to be easy. And that's where Wix.com comes in. With Wix.com, it's easy for you to create your stunning website, no matter what business you're in. It's already used by 60 million people around the world, and it empowers business owners to create their own professional websites with drag-and-drop builders, hundreds of designer-made, customizable templates, no coding, which is good. It's the only thing I can do is like make something italic in HTML. And it's easy. It's free. You can go to Wix.com, Wix.com, and sign up for an entirely free account today. There's no coupon codes. There's no special URLs. You literally just go to Wix.com. No credit card or anything like that. Get your website live today. You don't need to be a programmer or designer to create something beautiful. Wix.com, create your stunning website for free. And thanks to them for sponsoring our podcast. Stephen Schenck.
Hi.
Did you know that there are many people who still don't know how to participate in podcasts like ours when they go online?
I don't understand, but
I don't blame them. It's
watches the
confusing.
weekly every week. That's why we do it.
Yeah, no, I know, but I need you to clear it up for those folks. For anyone who's watching for the first time, tell them how to participate and tell them where to go if they need if they need to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, I don't understand this watching for the first time business, but presumably you've been watching at the beginning and you just have a lapse of memory, in which case I'm happy to bring you back up to speed here. What we want you to do, you're watching live on Google Hangouts, is go over to the little Q&A tab over on the side there. Type in your questions, hopefully about the things we're talking about, so we can expand on the topics there. And the other viewers will vote up their favorites. We will do our best to address the best ones on the air. If we don't get to yours, and it's going to be a busy show, if you've seen the rundown, we've got a lot in store here. You can send us an email.
God, yes.
It is super packed. Podcast@pocketnow.com. We've got a few listener mails from previous shows we're going to be addressing on the air later today. Got a question, we'll read it, try to get to it in future programs, so either Q&A or podcast@pocketnow.com. 2 ways we want to hear from you guys, so one or the other, you'll figure it out.
We want to hear from you. Stephen, your hair is defying gravity to get today. There's one guy who knows how to work the Q&A. It's Mark Eric Lane, and he is already telling both you and me that our hair is exhibiting anti-gravitons. I don't know. I mean, I feel normal, but you, sir, are
I got out of the shower, and then this happened, and I don't have time to deal with it.
It looks good. I think it looks fine.
Flo, you look wonderful as always. You look well sated from having just come from the Olive Garden, and you and I were at the Olive Garden at the exact same time, and but they were different Olive Gardens in different states. But
yeah, I went to the Times Square one. Just FYI. It's like
I'm hearing.
Oh man,
somewhere
out that one. I had to wait like
in the
16 hours to sit.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, we need this should be like the CES 2012 video with the inside what's the hotel with the reproduction of Venice and like the inside canals with the
Venetian.
Yeah, the Venetian. Of course
Venice,
it is.
Venetian.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm really upset that we have this
anyway.
whiteboard behind Flo and not like Tuscan Villa wallpaper. It would have been nice.
Actually, there's probably stuff on there you shouldn't be seeing. So.
Oh, restricted access.
Everyone, switch to your HD view.
Well, as Stephen said, we have so much to talk about, and the reason we've brought Flo on the air primarily is to talk about this massive Android invasion that's happened this week. So let's get into it. Jules Wang, bring us in. 2 major events this week. The first of them being related to something called the Nexus. Flo, were you out there at Google's Nexus event?
Yes, I was. I got up very early that day to commute in from my small house in the small town that I live in. And it was, they had breakfast. They offered us quinoa with tomatoes and a variety of breakfast sliders.
Ooh.
So that's what was on the menu.
I saw some like yogurt parfait things.
There were also yogurt parfaits,
yes.
And it was very nice. It was unlike Google I/O. It was spacious. There were tables to sit at. Sundar was there.
Yes, Sundar Pichai.
How was the hospitality of the whole event here?
Indeed.
It was actually very hospitable.
I want to hear about yogurt all morning.
The yogurt was really delicious, but
hope on top.
That's Google, always trying to keep us regular.
That's true.
Bless their heart.
You know what? They've done a really consistent job of that with their smartphone releases. We saw 2 new Nexi, the Nexus 5X and the 6P, which were basically exactly what we were expecting. Flo, I have only gone hands-on with one of these. I have only handled the 6P. So I want to compare notes with you on that in a second. But let's start with the smaller one. Yeah? Let's go with the affordable, smaller, LG-made Nexus 5X. And I would love for you to tell us what your experience was with that device.
It's very light. It's very light, and it feels a lot like, I forget the names, but you know the lineup of LG's like mid-range phones that they showed off at MWC earlier this year? It feels a lot like that in the hand.
Where they bring
it feels like a mid-range phone in the hand?
It does. It's like very plasticky, but very thin, which is, I guess, good because it's durable, but I just want to preface this with, I liked the Nexus 4 a lot more than the Nexus 5 because of its glass build, because it added a little bit density, but I know some people don't. Some people want lighter phones, and I totally get why. Like, it makes sense, but...
Now, I like to have a little bit more heft in the hand as well. I like
exactly.
Because
otherwise I feel like it's just going to slip out, and I already have kind of smaller fingers than you guys. But regardless, that doesn't even matter because I think that was such a nice, speedy little phone. It reminded me of why stock Android is really important to have around. It reminded me, because I've been sort of I've been okay with skins and OEMs doing things, and I know I kind of annoy people when I talk about that, but this reminded me why stock Android is very important, because everything matches from the case that's on the phone to the interface. It's just all this nice bundled up package.
So it's creating the illusion of an integrated hardware software sort of.
It's exactly what you get. I mean, sorry guys, it's exactly what you get when you buy an iPhone. This nice integrated experience.
Florence Ion of Greenbot to be saying something like that.
I know.
One question we've got a lot of is so the fingerprint sensor is on the back. It's below the camera lens. It's table stakes these days. It has to be fast and it has to be good. And I'm sure it's both of those things. Does it serve any other function? Can you scroll with it? Can you use it as a trackpad like you can on those crazy Huawei ones? Because that doesn't. People have been asking me that. I don't think it does, but
that was not demoed at all. I did try out the fingerprint sensor though. I couldn't really use it because my fingerprint wasn't associated with the account. But I felt the little vibrations. It's actually so much easier. I've been getting frustrated with the GS6 Edge lately, because I kind of switched to fingerprints just so I could get on the Android Pay train.
Android Pay, yeah.
Yeah, and it's super annoying. And I realize now, having your thumb unlock it is actually not very intuitive, because the way I hold the phone is, here, I'm going to grab my phone. I hold this way. I don't hold it like this.
So Flo holds it in her hand and doesn't maintain a hand on the lower portion of the device. Yeah.
So nobody picks it up like this.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean?
And the index finger rests very naturally on the spine of the thing.
Yep.
Shri is our. By the way, I'm really happy to have Dushyant on the podcast, because he used to write into this podcast. I was stumbling over Shri's name years before he came aboard. So I'm really glad you're finally on the air with us. And UX, user experience, is his bread and butter. That's the space he lives in. That's his field of study, and that's what he writes for Pocketnow about. Shri, do you have any opinion on the placement of this fingerprint scanner?
Yes, as Flo said before, it's the index finger, or to some extent the ring finger, rests on the back of the phone, and when the fingerprint sensor is on the bottom of the phone, that's when you use your other hand to trigger the sensor.
Right.
But if you want to use the same hand, to trigger, it should be on the back rather than you won't be able to use your thumb normally.
Right. Yeah. They were making a big deal on stage at the unveiling about how you can unlock the thing before it's by pulling it from your pocket, and before it even gets to your chest level, you can have it unlocked because you can feel out the fingerprint scanner, and I think that's pretty cool. It's not the first time we've seen one placed here. The HTC One Max had it, but it was a crappy.
That was not very good. That was not a good fingerprint scanner.
Sure was. And the Mate S as well, but I think the Mate S is what's putting it in everyone's mind that you can use it as a swipe pad. You know what I mean? Because I think with that one you can swipe on it and it'll trigger the notification shade, which is actually a really handy shortcut. And Jules points out.
But that's not a thing that's natively built into Android. So I think if you wanted that, you'd have to. That's what a skin is for.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I wonder. I sometimes think that Google misses some opportunities with the Nexus phones to introduce some features that are really smart from skins, and sometimes they do bring it. They do just wholesale import something that say Samsung did in a UI layer. But
we just talked about how Motorola is coming out with its Marshmallow updates and was mentioning features it's dropping because now they're present in Marshmallow. There's a need to have them part of the separate manufacturing.
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of, Flo, you probably saw some of this stuff, the new sort of contextually aware stuff that's being built in here.
So cool.
Okay, so tell us about the new active display. We saw it on the Nexus 6, but it's different now. Or ambient display, not active display.
Actually, I didn't get a chance to see that demo. I thought you were referring to Google Now on Tap.
Oh God, Google Now on Tap. All right, forget it. Yeah, everything. Let's talk about Google Now on Tap because that's the coolest thing there is. Please. Did you get to use it?
Yeah, I did, and I cannot wait till it comes to our phones, whenever the heck it's going to come, because I'm on a Samsung phone. But so funny, and I have to bring this up. So they were showing a demo with Donald Trump. an article on Donald Trump, which I was like, come on, guys, of all the people. So we were all making jokes about how awful Donald Trump is. And it was fascinating. So the article was in The Atlantic. It was about how Donald Trump is getting all of his political know-how from War and Peace? No, All is Fair in Love and War? I don't know.
The Art of War?
The Art of War, thank you. You know,
yes.
war is bad, so I try
Middle
not
manager's favorite book everywhere, yeah.
So anyway, that's mentioned in the article. There's a picture of him on USS Indianapolis, which is in LA. I'm trying not to get everything wrong. But the point is that when you use Google Now on tap, it brought up all these little things that you could scroll through, and you could see all the search terms, and it shows the apps where you could get information for the USS Indianapolis and see where it is and when it's open for you to visit it, and you can buy the book, The Art of War, and you can buy Donald Trump's book on Amazon. Here's a direct link. And I just think that's really cool because that's one less click that I have to do. Yeah. You know, it's just available for me right there, which is awesome.
I feel like it's going to be the new thing that you miss when you briefly go on to use a non-Android phone, or when if you have an Android phone and then you go over to switch to the iPhone for some reason, or you switch to one of the new Windows phones, and you're if you've used an Android phone with Google Now on tap for 2 or 3 weeks, I feel like it's going to be the thing you miss the most when you're not on Android.
I have to add, I tried it with one of our PC World articles, and it did not work very well.
Oh no!
So there's an article written by our games writer Hayden Dingman about what the future of VR, first of all, Hayden is an amazing writer, so definitely read that if you ever can. I never hesitate to send him compliments because he's awesome. And I tried it out. It was about VR, and it was an opinion about his idea of how to perfect the VR that we have now. And Google Now on tap read that as perfect virtual reality. So that's what the search term was, which didn't really yield too many results. It was kind of a bummer, but and so I was wondering, how does that work? Does it look into the metadata that's in the website? Does it look at just the text that's in the article? So that's what I'm curious about.
It's taking the whole page. It's essentially screenshotting the page, I believe, and then running intelligent text analysis on what it sees. And I think it does images too, right?
It
you can do Google Now on tap on a picture you're looking at.
Which is how we could tell Trump was on the USS whatever.
Right. Oh, okay.
It wasn't.
That wasn't called.
Actually, no. It was mentioned in the caption of the image.
Oh, okay.
So never mind.
Yeah, because that's creepy levels of stuff. I've spent a little time recently thinking of how much creepier Google could be if it wanted to, and I've got a really good idea for a piece I'm not going to say on the air. Yeah, but let's get back to hardware. The 5X has it's sort of revised.
I mean, we knew what to expect, but.
Someone, Pablo Maldonado in the chat is saying, why all the hate on the Google Nexus 5X for only having 2 gigs of RAM? I tend to agree. I think that people are overreacting, especially considering the price point. But then again, I don't know what Android Marshmallow's RAM management is going to be like. Android is an OS that really benefits from a large amount of RAM. So while I don't like spec races, generally the more of it you have.
Yeah, but it's not as big of a memory hog as TouchWiz is. Because when I was using TouchWiz on the 4 gigabyte Galaxies, it was so much faster and more responsive than the 3 gigs on the S6 Edge, the regular one. So then I think about Google's trajectory and where it's sort of taking Android into India and Brazil and all these entry-level markets that are just starting to get into smartphones. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be as performance heavy as we are. They're not going to these are people that are using phones as computers, and they're doing very basic things on it. So we have to remember that for the markets it's going into, not everybody's going to want an Android One phone. Some people are going to want the Nexus 5X and not have to pay exorbitant amounts of money for it.
Well, and some people are going to want to connect it to their computers. And Stephen, can you please tell us why that's going to be some trouble for some people?
Well, if you're in the habit of plugging your phone into your computer over USB, whether it's for file transfer, you're charging it when you're not near an outlet or something, this is a problem with the Nexus 5X because with both these new phones, Google gave them USB Type-C ports, which are great in theory. They're going to be on everything a few years from now. The cable is reversible, like the Apple Lightning connector, and Google throws one in the box, a USB-C to USB-C cable. So it's USB-C on the charger end, USB-C on the phone end. it's fine for charging your phone, but unless you go out and buy a separate cable or an adapter or just happen to have the right laptop or something, there's no way out of the box to hook it up to your computer. The 6P does come with both the Type-C to Type-C and Type-C to like standard USB-A connector. But Nexus 5X, I guess they're trying to keep the price down. Extra $13 for the official Google cable. You can get cheaper ones out there, but something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to be buying a bunch of stuff on Monoprice for like stocking stuffers this year, and just be like, hey, we got new cords we need to get now. Everybody's getting new cords.
Right. This is going to be, the next couple of years are going to be so interesting in that way. It's going to feel like a flashback to 2002, and it's like, what phone do you have? A Panasonic?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, and I just wondered if I could borrow your cable. Yeah, no, that won't work. I'm sorry. What do you have?
Phones
Oh,
didn't die
Nokia
as
again.
quickly back then, though. Now we got like little powerhouses in our pockets, so we got things that die in like 3 hours.
That's entirely true. Yeah. Yeah, I was at Pepcom. I don't know if this is what you're talking about in chat, Jules. I can't remember the vendor, but we were at Pepcom's show 2 nights ago, Adam Lane and I, and we saw a vendor that's on Kickstarter right now that's doing that. They build that double-sided micro USB Type B cable, like the existing standard, but it's fully reversible, so it'll fit an existing micro USB port, but it's a reversible cable. It's so smart. And it looks almost identical. It's so cool. But I was like, where were you 3 years ago? This would have been so awesome 3 years ago. And now that USB Type-C is coming out, it's like, man. So I can't remember the last time I connected my Android phone to my computer, because connecting an Android phone to a MacBook Pro
put files on it?
AirDroid, man.
Oh, it takes forever.
Yeah.
You use it as well?
Yeah, I connect via a Wi-Fi direct or Bluetooth or something like that. I generally try not to use a cable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting a little more concerned about that, because AirDroid is apparently a really, really intense battery hog, and I have been having...
I stopped using it.
You stopped using it? Why? Because of battery drain?
Yeah, and that it just like wasn't, I mean, it was not any easier than just plugging in my phone to my computer to get things off of it.
I mean, like, what? Sure it is. Because
I mean, but
it might be now, especially that we have all these different cables and stuff like that.
But I always have cables on me, and at work I have like the full, I have my Mac monitor, whatever it's called, and then I have like all these cords coming out of it, so it's already prepared for my quick little.
So your desk computer is like a retail station from a carrier store, where people like, can you transfer my phone book? Yeah. I don't know. I think AirDroid is so much fun, because it's just so nerdy. It's like, not only does it transfer files over Wi-Fi, but to establish the connection, it like scans the QR code in your browser. I just think it's it's such a wonderfully geeky thing, and I didn't know it. But anyway, band 12 on the 5X and 6P. We're going to talk about the 6P in a second, but apparently band 12 is...
T-Mobile is weird about granting phones access to all these bands. Didn't we see something with Motorola like a month or two ago? Yeah. Yeah,
there's like a 911 problem that
with voice over LTE, and so it's not really supported with the 5X and 6P as they launch. T-Mobile seemed open to like, we can work this out, and future firmware update it could work, but I mean, it still works on the other T-Mobile bands. It's not going to not work on T-Mobile at all. You just don't get access to this one band they use.
Right, which I used to think was like a major deal for me, because I live in Boston, which is a very well covered city for T-Mobile, but you always want your in-building coverage to be better.
No, they have looked at the areas.
That's the thing. I looked at the coverage map, and they have licenses for band 12 in a lot of areas, but T-Mobile has not deployed it almost anywhere from what I can see right now. So it's, I mean, anywhere.
It still has the 1900. It still has 1700.
Yeah. Just check your coverage maps before you get one of these. So let's talk about the 6P. I saw it, and I want to ask you, Flo, if you had the same experience as me. I was surprised by how conventional it looked and felt in person.
As opposed to...
Well, as opposed to what?
As opposed to the renders. Like, you look at the pictures or the early renders.
It's conventional in the renders.
It seems like when you look at the photos, it seems like I don't know. I can't take my eyes off that Geordie visor on top of the thing.
I am not seeing everyone's objection to that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't. But it's weird. It's an unconventional looking phone. It's so unconventional, in fact, that ZTE went and called them out today and suggested that Huawei had copied an earlier ZTE design from the Grand S, which doesn't seem likely.
There's no
to me,
copying in smartphones. These are all original designs.
Right. But when I actually held the thing, and maybe it's because I held the black one, and it's the most subtle of all three. Like from the back, you really can't really tell that it's much different. The window does stand out, but whatever. Mm-hmm. And then from the front, it just sort of looks like a Moto X. Like it's got those two speaker grills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of boring.
2 HD screen, yeah.
It's kind of boring, but it's more premium feeling than other Nexus phones that we've had the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's the first metal unibody, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I was trying to think if they weighed differently, because the different materials, because the white one was a slightly different material than the aluminum-y back one. And then I got a bunch of journalists, and I was like, hey guys, do these feel different to you? And they're like, no,
come rub on these phones, everybody.
That's exactly what I did. And I guess they're not very different to people, but I don't know. I just want to say, when this goes on sale, when they do the whole we're gonna take $100 off, I'm totally gonna buy one.
Yeah, 500's too much, you think?
The 6P. The 5X is, I'm kind of over smaller phones, and I already got my S6 Edge, so.
You have the S6 Edge Plus, right?
No, I have the regular S6.
Oh, you have the regular.
Yeah.
Oh, so you will be taking a size bump if you get the 6P.
Man,
only I loved the Nexus 6 5X. I liked the Nexus 6 for its size, actually. I thought the Nexus 6 was totally hokey looking, but I wasn't into the style.
I liked that the Nexus 6 owned its ugliness. It rolled up to a party and was like.
And then Phil from Android Central brought his Nexus 6 in to take comparison shots, which was very nice to let the rest of us sort of mooch off of him. But I was just looking at it, and it was just so gross.
What, the 6?
You're just noticing
it's just the material they used on it wasn't good, and I really like the new Nexus.
It's made of diapers and crap.
It kind of does. I like the new Nexuses because they don't look crappy. They just look like Google was like, okay, guys, we kind of phoned it in last year. Let's really deliver it with a bang, and they did.
I don't know. Really I think you guys are being unfair to the 6. I think the 6 was big and too big, and too clunky and too fat and too heavy and whatever. But it knew what it wanted to be. It was okay, I was an Android Silver device at first, and I'm basically a big-ass Moto X, but that's okay. I'm going to be what I was meant to be, and that's going to be all right. Shri, do you have any experience with the 6?
Yeah. I would say that until the Nexus 9 even, it seemed like the design philosophy was the hardware is just a portal into the software. The software is front and center. That's the main experience. That's what matters. Everything else is just a receptacle. But this seems like they thought about it now. This seems like the build quality is not up to standard, or it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel very good. So, and people do pay a lot of attention to how the phone feels in the hand and all that stuff. So. Let's improve that a bit, and make it feel better in the hand, better materials, and placement of buttons and all that kind of stuff.
And I will say that, with the 6P, that is significantly increased. I didn't think the Nexus 6 felt poorly made, and it wasn't poorly made, I don't think.
Over time, the leather back tends to
and all that. Yeah, on the X, on the Moto X, but with the Nexus 6, I think the jump to the 6P, it's slimmer, it's lighter, it's all metal, it's
exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't appreciate that they ditched wireless charging. I'm really annoyed about that.
Oh.
Yeah, we had.
Didn't you say they talked about that in the AMA?
Yeah, it was such a bullshit explanation.
What was the explanation? Can you look it up for us, Stephen?
Oh, it'll make the phone too thick.
Oh,
which,
God.
that's you see this in every manufacturer. Oh, yes, and it would. It'll make it, a millimeter thicker or millimeter and a half. But
not even.
It's not
What's
worthless.
You're
getting functionality
the Galaxy S6
out of it.
manages to pack 2 wireless charging standards into that case, and that's not a thick phone. Same with the 6S Edge or this.
Yeah, this is presuming it's not already have all these antennas in there for NFC and what have you. There had to have been space. I don't know. What the actual reason
if they can't figure out on the 6P, I get it. If they can't do it on an all-metal phone, I understand that. That's there's an engineering challenge.
The top thing. 5X, no excuse.
By the way, I had an interesting, very brief Twitter conversation I was part of that a lot of people were a part of. That maybe somebody is figuring that out. in the coming weeks. I don't know. We'll have to see. Wireless charging on a metal body phone. But there's no excuse not to put it in the 5X. Come on. I mean, cost savings, okay. But you did it in the Nexus 5, and that was way cheap.
Yeah, I can believe that very few people were actually using this, but Google must have known the same thing going from the 4 to the 5, and it still stuck with this, or told LG it wanted this in the phone. It seemed like it was a tech that Google was behind to a substantial extent. I don't see why they suddenly turned their back. I mean, they would sell wireless chargers through the Play Store, and now, whoopkiss.
Yeah, I have a question about the Nexus 6P. So the camera hump is not as pronounced as it looks like in the renders, right? It's quite,
in my opinion, minimal.
The 5X is actually more pronounced in its camera hump. I wouldn't want to actually put that rear down because, I don't know, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. It's like this little mound on the back. It's like a pimple, camera pimple.
Like on the Lumia 925.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was. Yeah, exactly. Lumia 925.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting you're a Windows Phone. You're a brother in arms with Windows Phone. Flo's like, whatever, you guys. Hey, Flo, if somebody buys one of these things, one of these new Nexi, and wants to protect it, what's with these new options that Google is offering up?
The Nexus Protect, yes. So you have to pay for that. So actually, I'm sorry, I don't have all the stats in front of me, but I remember it was what, $60 and $70 for
It's
each?
like 70 and 90, I think.
Or 70 and 90. But I actually don't think that's so bad because they said that they would send you a phone the next day.
Yeah, one business day turnaround.
Yeah, 24/7 support. And
I may have misread this. There's no per incident fee for accidental damage.
Exactly.
It's just covered, 2 incidents.
It's not deductible like there would be on a carrier insurance plan.
So that's what I'm curious. Well, that's what I'm wondering about. I don't know if you have to pay anything, but I would imagine it's better than what I have with my carrier right now, because I'm paying $10 a month for the accidental something happens to my phone, but then I still have to pay an $80 deductible if I want a new phone.
Yeah, I mean,
even then I'm not guaranteed a refurbished unit. Yeah.
Right.
It's $70, and
you can do
break your phone.
Sorry, Steve.
20 months from now and get a brand new one. That sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Up to 2 incidents and 2 years of coverage.
I said that it reminded me a little bit of HTC's Uh-Oh, but you don't have to pay for that one, which whatever. But I would pay for it. If I end up getting the 6P, I would probably buy the accidental damage thing.
The one thing I don't like about this is that Google was always really lenient with warranty coverage for Nexus phones in the past. We've run stories where some of our editors did, accidental damage. So it was clearly their fault, and Google still replaced the phones free of charge. So I have a feeling we're going to see that sort of thing dialed way down now that there's the paid option available. But
what's interesting is that it's codified now, though, which is nice. The coverage stays with the phone even if you don't own it anymore. So if you give it to somebody else, the coverage remains with the device. And like you were saying, you can claim 24/7. This is being run by Assurant.
Oh, it is? Assurant is the one that you pay for your carrier.
Yeah.
So it's just the same third party that's handling it all.
They've struck a different deal. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It's gonna be good for Google. I'm glad that they're doing this. They're trying to be the nice company. You know what I mean? They're trying to be hey, we're super nice. We're going to take care of you. We have all the information you need, and if you break something, we'll fix it for you.
But as Jules points out in the chat, they are not by no means the first to this party. You said HTC Uh-Oh, but obviously Apple Care. And Apple Care's significant edge is that Apple has a big retail presence.
It's so expensive, though.
What this means in terms of, we always hear rumors about Google thinking about getting into retail brick-and-mortar stores that never seem to really go anywhere. But specifically, this sort of add-on for a phone, way more than accessories, is something that you think about being pushed by salespeople in a store. You're buying the phone, oh hey, let me talk you into spending just a little more for this protection. And I don't think that selling this sort of thing is as easy online as it is with a salesperson right there. And I wonder if we're going to see a lot lower adoption than compared to Apple Care.
You will pay a significant premium for Apple Care, as Jules points out, and as I'm reading here, Apple Care Plus for the new iPhone 6s is $130, and then there's an there's a $100 deductible for service or something like that. Not a deductible, but hardware repair coverage is covered. But Yeah, it's an incident feed. Right. Fascinating. Anyway, that's other stuff. We had an article run on our site recently about Google Fi, Project Fi, which I really like talking about very often because it's such a cool idea.
Do you?
Yes, and I think that it was, it may have been by Joe Levi, who said, if Google wants Project Fi to take off, which, by the way, I don't think they do yet, but if Google wants Project Fi to take off, it should bundle a Project Fi SIM with the new Nexus phones. They're not doing that, but they are making the new Nexuses compatible with Project Fi, which is just so cool because previously you had to buy a first-gen Nexus 6 to use it, and not everybody wants to carry that phone for some reason, which is weird.
Especially when they're launching it this summer and you can only use a phone that's, I don't know, 8 months old at the time. It's nice to have a fresh one.
Right.
Multiple sizes.
Yes, no,
it's good.
Completely agree. And
I have yet to use it.
You've yet to use Fi?
Yeah, but it's just because I'm a Verizon person.
Yeah,
I have Stockholm
the
syndrome.
most confusing tech.
I know. I have the Stockholm syndrome with Verizon. Like their service is so good, but they're so mean to me. They're just so bad.
I heard you were thinking of leaving, and then they rebranded with that new check mark, and you were like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. That's beautiful."
I have never thought about leaving them, actually.
That's so
crazy. It's never
crazy.
crossed my mind. It's not even like the idea of leaving them gives me panic attacks. Like,
the idea of
I need to see it there.
The idea at this point, the idea of having had my credit run by T-Mobile gives me panic attacks. But I guess we'll get to that in the news.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if you get one of the new Nexus, you can. There you go. Just check mark right in your forehead. If you want one of these new Nexuses, you want Project Fi, those things will go really well together. So apply it for your
like bread and butter.
Right. That is exactly.
Or, in my experience, breadsticks and a boat of marinara sauce.
Oh man.
Which costs an extra $4.
But it's so friggin' worth it. Now I get the boat of dipping sauce too, but I go for the Alfredo myself.
Really?
No, I just carry a bottle of ranch dressing with me.
That's what I need at all times. I need a utility belt with 2 holsters, ranch on one side, and like sriracha in the other.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you should check sriracha to go.
They had little keychains you could buy, and then they sold out real quick.
I was going to actually talk about something else here first, but I wanted to go to the Q&A just to see if there's anything relevant. And Mark Eric Lane has another question, which is pretty well upvoted. In terms of the fingerprint sensor we were talking about the Nexus, do you think Sony got it right by putting it on the side? Seems to make the most sense to me.
Friggin' I was playing with my phone earlier while you guys were all talking about the positioning of sensors, and when I pick it up, my finger is over. It's on the back, but it's well over to the side, and side mounted would be far preferable than a center back mount for my grip.
All right, but I mean, if you had used the Moto X for 2 generations like I have, your finger would gravitate to the dimple location, and you'd be in our boat with the rest of us, ready to have that fingerprint scanner there for sweet action.
It depends on what phone you're using, what you're used to. The way you hold your phone will change if you're using a curved back or something.
Or just the size of the handset.
Yeah, exactly. Even the size. That might change based on. I guess all these things would take some getting used to, but just a few days, and you'll get used to whatever that's a new phone.
Yeah.
Some people.
You can get used to pretty much everything.
Unless it's extremely weird, like if it's a really tall phone, it's on the top, and that
which is just the worst.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So apart from that.
John Strasky asked, how did ambient display change with the Nexus 6P, and does the 5X have it? I don't think it's much changed from the original Nexus 6, but they have redone. They called out their new coprocessor like specifically, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
What are they doing here? I don't remember. They're using the Snapdragon 808 for the 5X. What are they using for the 6P?
The 810.
The 810. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but they have on each of them, they're either using stuff that's already built into the SoC, or they're grafting on
the presentation.
What's that?
I wasn't clear on that from the presentation. If this was an extra chip, or they're just drawing attention to the onboard sensor stuff that's built into the Snapdragon.
Right. And actually, it wasn't clear when Motorola blazed the trail here years ago that they weren't clear on it either. With their first Moto X, they were like, we have this whole different custom hardware running this context stuff. And then when the second generation came out, they're like, oh yeah, it has a Snapdragon 805. So I'm like, okay, so are you just using the 805 stuff? And like, no, we still have the X8 mobile computing system. Well, okay, but what does that mean? Is that all software? Are you just using the chip? Yeah, but well, it's it's a mobile computing system. Oh, okay. I don't know what that means.
It's got blast processing, Michael.
It's called marketing humdrum.
Yeah, so I don't know what's changed here. Maybe it may be cleared up in the AMA.
The Android Sensor Hub.
Say again?
The Android Sensor Hub, I think it's called.
That's right.
Basically, all the ambient light sensor, magnetometers, all those stuff it's being controlled by that. So I guess it's like when you wake the phone, that's being leveraged to power the ambient display and all that kind of stuff. So it's more responsive, or I don't know about battery savings, but yeah, that's probably one of the. They talked about it a few. They had a slide which said sensor hub, and there was a stock photo of the rectangle and all that stuff.
Yeah. I just tried to look up more context in the Ask Me Anything thread, and it took me scrolling, no joke, 25% of the page. I had to go down a quarter of the front of the page to get past the wireless charging discussion. So we are not alone.
A couple opinions out there.
Yeah. I guess the most widely publicized thing that came from this AMA is, what does the X and P stand for? Somebody asked, which is I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I like calling out points. Any OEM. It was just like, all right, are these arbitrary or what? X is for the core of the Nexus brand. Plus, it sounds cool.
Since when does X mean core, though?
For premium.
Yeah, there was a Nexus X, I think, right? So maybe they just used that.
There wasn't a Nexus X, was there?
Nexus 10 is a Nexus X.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a Nexus S, but not a Nexus X.
Nexus S, sorry.
Yeah, there was also a Nexus Q, but I never had one of them. But that's okay.
I ordered one. Got it for free.
Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, we're gonna take another look at these. Flo, what are we forgetting? What you were there? You were what were they? Because I was listening to the
Did you forget about some Chromecast thingies?
No. I mean with the Nexus stuff, because we're gonna
take free money. You get like $50 Google Play credit.
Yeah, $50 Google Play credit.
Like 3 months of music.
Blessing by the Pope.
Right. I found one of these. By the way, I've moved my speaker inside the booth, so now like. I can rest my arm on it, and I feel like even more Commander Riker than usual. Nexus 6P and 5X. Chris Topher asks, the lack of optical stabilization and wireless charging a deal breaker. Wireless charging not a deal breaker, but I am upset. Yeah, but let's talk about OIS for a hot second. Yeah. For so many years, this was the thing that we pointed to, right? It's like this, oh, it does have OIS, then it's going to be great in low light. Now. You don't need OIS to be great in low light, and in fact, you can do better by using other technologies, like the oversized pixels they were talking about, right? And
yeah, but you kind of need OIS if you're gonna whip your phone out of your pocket and snap a photo.
You don't, though.
I mean, these things all help,
they're getting so good at digital stabilization. I mean, we talked about this extensively last week. Steven's right, but the digital stabilization is getting so awesome. And the low-light capture methodology is becoming so much more sophisticated than, okay, stabilize the camera as much as possible and open the shutter for longer. It's just becoming a whole different conversation.
I look at this like, think about battery issues in phones. We can build phones with big batteries, and then a new generation comes out. They have more efficient SoCs. They don't need as large a battery. So the manufacturer, they knock off a couple hundred milliamps. It's the same thing with OIS and the larger sensors, bigger pixels on there. Both of them contribute to better low light sensitivity, but then it feels like as soon as one of them gets good enough, we back away from the other. If we had the bigger pixels and OIS, that'd be better than just one or the other. And it kind of sucks that we can't get both, Why can't we have the larger battery and the more efficient SoC,
Well, why can't we have peace in the Middle East? I mean, really.
We all just get along.
I have to say, though, the camera on both phones is pretty dang good. The shutter speed on the 5X is a little. The shutter speed on 5X is a little slow, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So same camera module on both of these guys. It's a 12.3 Sony. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have this huge. I didn't even I actually never heard anything like that. What they were saying, the multi. Gosh, what were they saying?
Deep trench isolation. No, that was the.
It's like I'm like trying to go through my notes right now so I could find it.
Yeah, where are your notes, Flo?
My notes are all like buried in my text edit right now.
You're a primary source. No, you guys were talking in the chat about the camera shortcut. I do like that you can pop the thing out of your pocket and double-click what? The volume keys to launch the camera?
Yes, micron camera pixels.
Oh, wait, well, yeah, but how many microns?
1.55 micron camera pixels.
Yeah.
I had never heard that before.
Yeah.
Micron is a
it's just larger. It's just oversized
millimeter.
Yeah.
Not that much bigger.
Well, we're going to test it. We have final software. It'll be good. There's a good question from Kelvin Alonso about the Nexus line. Do you guys think, and I want to know this too, will Google ever release a Nexus watch, and why do you think they don't allow third-party software enhancements on Android Wear? First question first. Is there a place for a Nexus watch, given that every Android Wear device has to have basically stock Android Wear?
I don't know if there is.
Android One watch.
Yeah, but wait, I mean...
Just
okay, well, let me use this as an example.
She's got a great idea for a brand name if they do it.
This is the ZenWatch 2, the women's version that I'm reviewing right now.
I'm locking the camera on Flo because this is an awesome watch that I had on myself.
It's an amazing watch. First of all, this is a women's version, and I really like it. It's very comfortable to wear, and I will have a review on it whenever the hell I have time. So the reason you made a good point about like Android Wear. So they bundled in all this software, like Asus made all this software that is supposed to go with the ZenWatch. And I remember at IFA they had put all that software on the demo watches for us to try.
That's right.
Well, when I got this watch in, it had nothing on it except for Android Wear.
Whoa.
And so you had to go to the Google Play Store and download those things. So I think that's why they're not going to do like a Nexus watch thing, because it looks like you can't bundle, this is just my understanding, you can't bundle a watch with a bunch of extra stuff. Like It's just got to be plain, and if you want to offer like extra fitness apps or whatever, it's up to the consumer to go get it. And I think it's because the watch is supposed to be something like a little more aesthetic, it's supposed to appeal to very many different people. Like, I think that's what Google's sort of going for. Because they're going for, like, hey, pick one that's in your style and, have fun.
Right, and Google has experience. It now has experience in smartphones enough to say to whatever OEM is building their Nexus phones, like, okay, this is how we want it to look. This is the user experience we want to deliver with this. And that's exactly what they do when they contract somebody to build a Nexus phone for them. I don't think that they have that level of experience with a watch yet, of expertise with a watch yet. And I think there are like many firms in the world that have been around for literally hundreds of years building watches that know more about physical design. And you don't. Steven's like, no, screw it up.
I don't think there's that many questions about watch design that are still outstanding. I mean, we're still feeling out the whole smartphone thing. What sizes we like. Massive, we still have to be pressing for super thin phones. Watches we figured out like decades ago.
I think it's because they don't, I personally, this is my own little idea, they don't really want manufacturers to be the one making watches. They want watch companies to be making watches.
Yeah.
Like Ted Wear, and why do you think Huawei grabbed a bunch of dudes from Fossil to make watches, like who lived in Switzerland, and were like, I lived in Switzerland, and I learned all about watch design.
That's exactly what a watch designer sounds like.
They're just like, I lived in Switzerland. I'm like, that's great.
Go ahead, Shreya.
Yeah, also from a technical standpoint, the watch form factor has a tremendous amount of constraint when it comes to, although it's improving processing power, memory, and all that. So they don't want people to, out of the box, just, the bloatware issue that we used to have back in 2012, 2013, all that. So my guess is that they're trying to control the experience as much as they can. By telling them what to do, and out of the box there's only the basic stuff. And if they want to put it on, give consumers a choice, get it from the App Store, get it from the Play Store. You don't need to, because of the, you don't want it to feel slow just right off the bat, right?
Well, we have this would be a really opportune time to segue to the new LG wearable, but there's something.
It would be an opportune time.
Would be, wouldn't it? But there's something sticking in the way first. This is just this was just previewed, so I just want to hear, Floke, if you can give us 20, 30 seconds about it. What did you did you guys get to play with the Pixel C at all?
Oh, yeah, we did. Well, my editor did most of the playing.
Okay.
I just, because he wrote the hands-on, we were, splitting up the work as you do. But the Pixel C, the keyboard is not, I'm still not sold on these, like, mobile keyboard thingies. It's a really nice tablet, but it's
a tablet with, like, a dock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Marshmallow isn't completely optimized for tablet interface yet. Like, I need to see more from Google in that space.
Yeah.
Before they start pushing this forward. And you know what? Same goes for Apple, okay? I'm sorry. The only people who've done it right is Microsoft. Because Microsoft knows productivity, they know business, that is their moneymaker. So just leave it to them. That's all I have to say about that.
Far be it from me to spend the fourth podcast in a row lavishing faint praise on the Surface 3. But yeah, Microsoft half of the time knows business and knows a good user experience half the time. Yeah.
Yeah, Marshmallow's Android is not a productivity. It's we need to.
Yeah. They're pricing this thing like it's a laptop replacement. I don't think Android's there yet.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can put Photoshop in Lightroom on a tablet, then I will leave my laptop behind. But until then, I'm sticking with my MacBooks or whatever the heck I'm buying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm the only person I know who uses an OTG cable to attach a keyboard onto this, like a mechanical.
Hey, no, don't feel bad about that. I use an OTG cable.
Keyboard with a cable to a Z3 compact, is that right?
Nice.
Yeah, and an Nexus 7 sometimes. I use my laptop.
Crazy
I need a
person. That's
PS2
wonderful.
adapter for my Model M.
Because
By the way,
the full-size keyboards are the best. I'm sorry.
Speaking of LG, and this is the segue, LG at yesterday's New York City press event gave probably everyone in attendance. No, wait, was this at the event? This was at something else. They gave us a Rolly keyboard.
Oh, I didn't get my thing.
You didn't get your thing?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Oh well.
If you get two Rolly keyboards, you can use them as nunchucks.
Jules, I love the news jingle, but that
I used that Rolly keyboard in Berlin, and you know what? I wasn't really a fan of it.
You were not a fan of the Rolly keyboard?
All
right, well, hold on a second. We've got one. Sometime we're going to review it, and then we'll have you back, and we'll have a big debate about that.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about the actual thing, the actual news from yesterday, which was this V10 Android phone that LG wants to use to redefine video.
Oh, don't forget Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
And yes, of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
How could we forget?
You enjoyed that part of the demo, I imagine.
I was flushing red. I was like, oh.
Listeners, just to make it clear, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was nowhere near the room we were all sitting
in.
So we were basically watching a videoed interview, but this was enough to bring Flo to the edge of her seat.
I'm sorry. I'm going to objectify him. He is so cute.
I'm going to watch 10 things.
Anyway.
Objectify him all you like. So he was there because of the collaboration with his production company, which I've forgotten the name of. Maybe Flo remembers. It's not Brown Box Films, but it sounds something like that.
GoPro.
But he was there, to amplify the association with the film industry, and the whole kind of conceit of the event, the whole theme of the day was come to this movie theater at Lincoln Center, and where the New York Film Festival is screened, and get some concessions and feel like you're at the movies, because this phone is going to be the best phone you will ever have shot a movie with in your life.
So what is so great about the video performance of this guy?
Well,
it's the G4 hardware, which is already one of the best Android cameras you can get.
Yes.
But they've taken all the manual controls from the still side, almost all of them, and thrown them into the camcorder. So you can manually adjust ISO, you can manually adjust shutter speed. You can shoot at like 24p if you want to really be cinematic about it. You can shoot in 4K at you can shoot at a really high frame rate if you want to go the other direction. Stabilization is really, really intensely cool. Or yeah, you can shoot it at 21:9 aspect ratio if you want.
That's neat. But this sounds like this is mostly on the software side of things. So where's the update for the G4 that gives it the Super V10 camcorder mode? Are we going to get that?
I don't think they're going to do that.
That's a tragic oversight.
Well, think about it. You're right, Stephen. I guess no, I don't think it's an oversight. I think it's a matter of positioning.
No, it's a matter of wanting to sell on your phone. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And the V10 is supposed to be sort of the replacement for the Pro line, but they're not just coming up and saying, okay, well, we're just going to do another big phone. It's a big phone with an angle, and they're really going to. Because that was the first thing I asked when I was sitting there. I got there late because I took a train going the wrong direction.
I got there late too.
New York. Yay!
Kindred spirits.
No, and I sat down I missed the first 10 minutes of the presentation, so by the time I get there, they're going through the kind of specs and everything. I'm like,
you missed the movie trailer beginning that they showed off, actually.
No, I didn't.
So I actually
saw that. That was awesome.
Oh, you did see that. Yeah. I thought it was actually very awesome too. I give LG props for that.
It was a good event. They actually did they did a good job with their event. But I leaned over to the guy next to me after a bit, and I was like, what? Who are they positioning this for? Because I didn't get it because I missed the entire pitch about how it was a movie phone. But this is it. My question is, do you guys think there's enough people out there who shoot enough video on their phone and really want it to be pro style video?
Yes.
To make a market for this, you do. Flo.
Yes, I do, because it's computer agnostic. You could use any editing software you want to make stuff.
And it comes with some editing software on board.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
Android phones
you can do a couple of you could do a 60-second video. It's like clips that you film and okay, Michael, do you remember when they were doing that little thing with the chick on her bike and her boyfriend, and they're doing all this montage.
They had a 5-minute vignette all across New York. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cute, and it reminded me of that's something I would do on a trip with my fiance. We would just make stupid videos and then laugh about it later, and I would want to do that with I think it's cool.
More than just personal stuff, though. I can see this appealing to the next generation of YouTube stars who maybe don't want to drop a couple $100 extra on a standalone nice HD camcorder. They can have a phone that does double duty.
Buy a tripod off Amazon for $12, and then you get the little smartphone insert for under $20, and you got yourself a little video thing to do.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Because that 5-minute video we were just referring to, they shot all of that on the V10. I don't know what processing they did to it afterwards. I'm sure they optimized it a bit.
Yes, I'm sure they put it through Premiere and did a little magic to it.
Tweak, a little color balance work.
Yeah.
It was wonderful footage. I mean, I'm not a camera nerd, so I can't tell. I'm sure there was some depth of field stuff going on. I'm sure that somebody sitting there would be like, oh yeah, this is crap. But no, it looked amazing to me. And it was on a massive screen, too.
And the phone, BT dubs, I like it way more than the G4.
Okay,
just the way it looks.
Here is where we part ways in our opinions, because picking up the V10, so I think its aesthetics work for it in the way of okay, we're going to market this toward camera guys, and not just camera guys, but the guys who did the flannel wearing ripped jeans.
Yeah, this is one of the most rugged flagship phones we've seen.
I don't need to look good.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of a muscle car.
Yeah, but while it might look like a muscle, to me, it's very confused. It's got this etched grid pattern on the silicone back, which is for durability, which is great. Yeah. But then you pick it up and it's oh yeah, this is like a tile from the floor of a factory. That's you don't want to, if you trip and fall, you don't want to hurt yourself. So that's what this is made of. And then kind of inexplicably, the side rails are these glinting metallic accents that are kind of the world's worst, most half-assed way to make it try to look fancy. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't look right to me. And then the colors are the blue color looks like.
I liked the blue color.
Oh God! It looks. What does it look like? It looks like a child's toy from the least fun decade of the century, the 30s.
Because the Nexus blue was awful.
The Nexus blue. What the Nexus blue? What that meant?
No, this is Steven. This is 90s baby blue, Justin Timberlake wearing in an NSYNC video.
No, it's not. No, this is like a sky blue material that was
look at my hands on
a smoggy atmosphere for a
minute.
It's
baby blue.
It's not baby blue, but anyway. I don't know. It's not an ugly phone, but it's not a great phone. Flo, what do you like most about it? Save me from my
Well, I
tornado.
wasn't into the leather back of the G4, and then I wasn't into the plastic back of the G4. So for me, I like the size. As I've told you, I like bigger phones. It feels. The only thing about it though is really heavy. It was a really heavy phone.
Yeah, it's like 190 something grams, right?
My arm actually got a little tired. I was holding it up for my videographer so we could take video and show like the viewfinder and blah blah blah, all the options. And I was like, hold on, I need a rest. My arm is actually getting really tired.
So that's a good point. It is heavy.
Yeah.
Although it's funny because I had the exact opposite response. Like I looked at the spec sheet, I'm like 190 whatever grams. That's stupid heavy. And then I picked it up. I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. So
it's a big phone. What, 5.7?
It is a big phone. 7 inches, and it's got a little more in fact on the screen. It's 5.9 once you take into account the old,
Okay, can we talk about that second screen and how it like?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Can we like segue into that right now?
Yeah, but first, Jules asked a question in the chat that I think other people are going to be asking too. How is the material on the back cover compared to the Moto X's silicone stuff? The Moto X Pure Edition is much softer, and I think equally easy to grip. It's just softer. So there's that. So yeah, the secondary screen, the second screen. Shri wrote 15 million words on this yesterday. I want him to jump in on this and tell us what his thoughts are on this strange dedicated second screen on top of this giant phone.
Well, firstly, it looks like one of those old calculators with a solar panel on top.
It's a good one.
Well, yeah. So the second screen, I think this is LG's attempt at going into this whole secondary display kind of thing. There's the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus, then there's all of the other software implementations like even I think Nexus 6 has the ambient display and Moto display and all that stuff. So like a secondary auxiliary display to come with the main display. So this is kind of like a this has been around for quite a while now. Like there was used to be like pagers and even like old flip phones. Like I mentioned,
this is nothing new as it relates to the landscape as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. What's new is that it has more. It's like an LCD. It's a part of the same LCD screen. So I don't know if somebody tries to like root it or get a custom ROM on it, will it break the functionality or something like that? Or
it has enough out-of-box functionality, though. You know what I mean? Like it'll display the time and date at all times, whether the main display is on or not.
The first question is like, does the software give you a tutorial on how to use it, or it just
does.
Okay, then that's good.
So when you power it up, and it'll be you touch something up there, and it's like, this is the second screen. Here's stuff you can put up here, shortcuts and all that kind of stuff.
Now, assuming people haven't washed your hands on yet, they want to know: is it too damn far up there to be usable?
Yep. Yeah. If you don't want to use two hands, it is. Flo says no. Flo says it's
no, but I also think it's a blatant ripoff of the GS6 Edge, and it's like. I don't see a utilitarian use for it. It just feels like, if you drag up an icon there, by the way, that's a non-LG made icon, it doesn't even match the rest of the icons.
Oh, it's just a minimized version.
It looks like when you put an icon pack on and it doesn't have the icon for it.
Yes.
And then it like puts it in there. It just looks like it doesn't fit in the little. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
It just looks too proprietary, which is kind of a bummer, and
no cohesion.
Exactly. I did like it though as like an extra menu screen for the apps. So it worked as an extra menu screen in the camera app.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I liked that.
The elements moved on to the others, so it gives you more real estate.
I like that.
And I like the lock screen apps. Like you could like turn on the flashlight real quick, and you could like take a quick little note, like on the Note 5,
Yeah, those are
just with the lock screen app.
Right. Those are nice. But for me, the display element of it is the more compelling one. I like a display that'll stay on all the time and won't kill my battery because it's so tiny. and it'll show me the date and time at all times. It's just a totally glanceable thing, and I'm not exactly clear on how the notifications will work with that, but it sounds like it'll handle all the notifications too.
Yeah.
I think that's the more compelling thing here for me, because all the shortcuts and stuff, yeah, they're wonderful, but people in the comments get on me about spending too much emphasis on one-handed use, but I'm doing stuff, man. Like, I'm always doing something. I'm always out. I'm carrying something. I'm working something. It's like I often only have one hand for my phone, and if I have to reach all the way to the top, it's annoying, particularly when they could have very easily put it at the bottom and it would have made a boatload more sense.
About that, the Samsung Continuum, if you remember, that had on the bottom end, people just used to complain that I keep accidentally pressing it. So that's another thing that might happen.
Sure. But the Samsung Continuum had a substantially larger display. Like, this is just a tiny
and that was
ticker.
a fully secondary OLED. This is still part of the LCD panel. I guess it has a separate backlight and controller, but
it's actually the Continuum. It was the same panel as well. They just did a painted line between the two.
You're kidding me. That wasn't OLED?
No, yeah.
Oh
yeah,
God, egg on my face.
Yeah. It may have been LCD, I don't know, but it was the same panel, and they just put like an interruption line between the two. Yeah.
But it is better in terms of usability, but because of the phablet size of the phone, again, the bottom bar becomes another dead zone, because when you hold the phone like this, you don't reach down here if it's that big, you reach somewhere here and here.
Somewhere in the middle of the device.
But that doesn't make sense, obviously. You can't put a screen over there, another one at least. So the app, like if you know Sony's small apps, when you press a home like multitasking button and it shows you a small bar of apps. I think that's also a good implementation compared to like
I agree.
On top. Although you have to access, you have to press another button, it's one click away or one tap away.
And it doesn't like. And you get to actually use the screen that's on there. Like, I don't recall that you could use the entire screen all the way to the top of where the second screen was. Like, it would just turn into a menu of whatever you were in. So you couldn't have a little bit more extra room for your videos or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I think somebody said, I think it was Jules who said in the chat that like the secondary screen feels like an afterthought almost. This phone is, this is what a lot of people are leading with in the headlines, us included on some stories, I think, because we didn't really know what to make of this before we got the full briefing, and it's very much, it's not about the second screen. Like, that's interesting, but it's not. That's not the focus. The focus is this is the new generation's video phone, and Jules seems to think that, or Jules hopes, with an editorial that he wrote yesterday, that this will lead to a sort of renaissance in mobile videography in terms of quality and ability. Oh, the audio capture. We didn't talk about that. Flo, do you remember what they did with the audio capture?
Yes, and I saw that you could like individually. So I don't really know a lot about that. So you're gonna have to jump in.
Yeah. There's three. Like it's three mics, and you can like steer the audio input lobes so that you can capture sound based on where it is relative to the phone. So if you're interviewing somebody and they're right in front of you, you can like steer the audio that way, so you only capture them and you don't capture you breathing heavily into the microphone.
Exactly. Which is awesome. So it really is geared toward like creative types, people who want to just like make movies, and they should have just gone with that instead of the
absolutely. The secondary display is going to be hugely distracting. They should have done that on a separate phone and had this just the video phone.
That might keep people from buying it.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, you know what though? I don't think so. I think if I were LG, I probably would have made the same call. I would have put this secondary display right on this phone, because I would have had my doubts, and I still have my doubts. Like, is video going to be enough? Even if it is the world's best video phone, which it might be, is that going to be enough to sell people on? Because most people are kind of, whenever a new camera development comes out in a smartphone, most people just kind of shrug and then go buy an iPhone. It doesn't really matter to a lot of people. So if I were LG, I would load this thing with as much differentiators as many as I could.
And a little bloatware.
Yeah.
LG is hugely confident in this phone, by the way. They were talking about the extent to which they hope to see profits take this huge rise in Q4, mainly driven by V10 sales. So I hope it works for their sake.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that's because it's
far too expensive.
Yeah, pricing is is pricing announced?
No, the only pricing I saw was from South Korea, and there it was cheaper than the Note 5. It's the only comparison I saw drawn.
Oh.
Speaking of completely unfinished and early stuff, we also got to look at that new watch.
Well, we got to look at it. We didn't get to use it.
Yeah, LG Watch Urbane 2nd Edition LTE. The longest
very
brand
confused
name.
by this guy.
The first Android Wear device with a 4G radio and not the first with the speaker, but the first that'll be able to leverage its speaker is what it sounds like. Calling, LG Health, new coaching app, big old casing, integrated antennas in the watch band.
It's huge.
Well, this seems to be perfectly sized for the ladies.
I put it next to this. It's ridiculous.
55mm face.
It's a monster.
Not really.
So it strikes sort of it walks like straight down the middle between the Urbane LTE and the Watch Urbane, the regular one, the non-LTE. It sort of splits the difference there. What do you think? Is there a market for this? Samsung tried with the Gear S. They're trying again with the Gear S2 with integrated LTE. And is this something people are calling for?
Well, this is Android Wear, so...
No, I know, but, you know.
If it makes the phone work better, if it makes the watch work better, but...
But what...
I have so many questions about how the software on this is going to work.
Well, I don't think the software is live yet.
Yeah.
No.
If it's Android Wear, that means Google's not even on it yet. So I don't know.
Well, they're saying that November is a good guess for a release date on this. They were being really, really not firm on that, but we should expect Google to come out and announce an Android Wear version capable of running this thing.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I don't know when that'll be, and it's difficult to say more. But it is a big honkin' watch, and you're going to have to factor in the cost of an additional cell plan.
I wonder what this is going to mean for next year's Android Wear lineup. Are we going to see, how circular displays pretty much took over this year's models? Are we going to see a ton of cell-connected ones next year?
Yeah, and I'm worried they're going to all be really big because you have to fit in that
battery life.
Well, this one has a 700-something milliamp battery pack, which I think is supposed to make up for the...
Is that the largest phone or watch battery we've seen to date?
Yes, because most are between 320 and 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 570.
No, Jules said 570 in the chat, and he's right because it's 700 megabytes of RAM.
768.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I got those two things mixed up.
Whatever.
Okay, 570 doesn't seem like it helps anymore. Sorry.
768.
No, but 570 is substantially bigger. 570 is substantially bigger than the Moto X second or the Moto 360 second gen, which is 400. And I get two solid days out of the Moto 360 second gen. Now this doesn't have a cellular radio, but it also doesn't have a POLED screen, and that should save it. So I feel like this will be a 1.5 day watch.
I wish that LG would. I really liked the Urbane, the last Urbane, and I still sometimes wear the gold one, if I'm feeling dealing with the size, but it's still too big.
You and I would not buy the same stuff if we hung out a lot.
Well, that's good.
We would never have any trouble confusing our stuff.
Yeah, at least we would wear the same thing every day.
Because I think the original Urbane is just heinous. I think it looks like a Flava Flav clock on a band.
No, it's
nice. It's monster. Oh god.
That's nice.
Maybe the point of these devices, I just saw the promotional video kind of thing, and it seems like maybe you have to use this watch independently of the phone. You can go for a run or whatever without having.
You can do that. You don't have to. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're like, oh, you can do that if you want. You don't have to be tethered to the phone, or you don't have to be connected anyway.
That's a big part of the pitch, but they did that. That was Samsung's exact value proposition with the first Gear S, and I don't
think it's too. If it's so heavy, it becomes cumbersome for people to use.
It is cumbersome.
Right.
Fitness tracking and stuff. You have this huge hulking thing on your.
Though I will say it's less cumbersome than the Gear S, which is more bracelet-like. The first Gear S. Now the second Gear S, we have yet to see, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about this. Flo's got to jump off the air because we have to switch segments. We have to get into the actual news, which we haven't even gotten to. Flo, are you flying back to California today?
No, I'm flying back tomorrow, so I'm hoping this hurricane doesn't keep me here.
No.
Busy.
busy being down. It's busy minding its own business. It's not going to interfere with your plans.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Flo, thank
Sorry
you for
I
joining
cut out
us.
in the middle of it.
Thank you.
That is all right. It has been. You've spent 4 years on the air with us already, so you know it's cool. We will see you at where are we going? CES?
You'll see me at CES. You'll see me every Tuesday on Twitch TV.
Oh, that's right. See, thank you. I was going to ask you to tell everybody.
Don't forget.
And where on Twitter, Flo?
At that Flo. No W.
Oh, that Flo.
No W.
Thanks, Flo. We will see you very soon. Have a safe trip home, and we'll talk to you later. Jules, I'd say it's about time we got into the news.
They're canceling me.
Well, there's more than just devices to talk about. There's scary developments in the world of mobile technology, frightening things that should keep you up at night. Yeah, hide your kids and hide your husbands, because they're hacking everybody out here. Our lead story in the news block is this massive data breach suffered by data farm, data client, data specialists, data aggregators, Experian, data dudes and dudettes who hold onto your credit info. 15 million subscribers of America's third largest wireless carrier.
What? I'm just wondering now, how big is T-Mobile subscriber base to begin with? Like 30 million? Something like that? 58.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
Clarify in the chat.
Okay,
customers,
so this is
not subscribers.
Big chunk there. Yeah, and
so Stephen, why don't you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah, T-Mobile was keeping this data with Experian. They got hacked, supposedly have names, addresses, some encrypted data, and there's a big question as to how strong that encryption is. T-Mobile warns users that they might have access to stuff like your social security number, which I am just second-guessing myself, because I'm on prepaid. I'm wondering if I even gave them my social when I had to sign up. I think I might have had to.
I think you had to, yeah. I think
for
prepaid,
I feel like even still. Yeah, so they may have a bunch of your info. I don't think any payment stuff was involved. It's like an identity theft level stuff, not getting your credit card info.
Well, this isn't like just T-Mobile subscribers. By the way, Stephen, I just discovered you and I have had just enough latency to completely screw us up all podcast. I'm
How do you
sorry.
mean? What do we do?
Yeah, your mouth moves, and then your voice comes in somewhat later. And it's very, very distracting. So if there's a lot of crosstalk in this show, folks,
but the high-quality audio version is going to sound.
Oh, it's going to sound.
That might solve the problem. We'll still be talking on top of each other, but
we will all over each other. But Jules makes a very good point that you do not have to be a customer of T-Mobile to be worried about this. All you need to have done is given them your information once, say for a credit check. So even if you rolled up in the door and was like, oh, hey, can I have a T-Mobile phone? And they ran your credit. They're like, yeah, no, you cannot. Good day, sir. Your information could still have been compromised in this breach.
No good.
So that really sucks. Is there anything that people can do, Stephen? Is there anything? If can I check to see if my information is in this affected block of data, or should I just get under my bed sheets and hide from the world?
You know, you're asking like it sounds like you know the answer to that. I don't. I think we should have Joe on if he can tell us about how we can live off the grid.
No, there's
giving our social security
Experian is at least offering something. They're saying they're offering 2 years of free credit monitoring, which you can access at a link in the piece. And this was characterized by somebody on Twitter really well, I think, who said, so let me get this straight. The company who just lost a bunch of my data is asking me for more data so that they can protect me. So yeah, we have the link in the piece written by Jules if you want to take advantage of that offer from Experian. But otherwise, my advice is just to cry and accept the fact that someone is going to pretend to be you and drain your bank accounts and force you to rethink your life.
Just keep it
also, in terrifying news, Android phones, none of them are safe. They're all terrifying.
Again.
Go get an iPhone. right?
Yeah. They're calling this Stagefright 2.0. It's not really Stagefright. It's a different library in Android that's vulnerable, but it's the same nature of thing. There's a media processing library in Android that's looking at files. In this case, not only MP4 videos, but even MP3 audio is vulnerable. An attacker gets a maliciously crafted media file up on a site somewhere. This time we're not really talking about MMS distribution, although I guess that might still be possible for older devices. We're talking about putting stuff on websites, convincing you to visit through your phone's browser, this media file loads, and then your phone is compromised. It's big, it's scary, it affects, I think, everything out there on Android right now. There's no mitigation I've heard of yet. They let Google know, I think, several months ago, just like with Stagefright itself, but we are going to have some nervous few months as we all wait for patches to be delivered.
Yeah, not that long. So if you have a Nexus device, this is going to be addressed in the next monthly security patch. Exactly. If you don't have a Nexus device, you have to wait for all the OEMs to do their updates that way. So that's a little frustrating. So
yeah, that's the scary part. Like, waiting for OEMs, who knows what Android version everybody's on, or whether they'll get security updates or not. Nexus and Android One, yes, more or less, they'll get it as soon as possible. But who knows, like local OEMs.
This is more of an indictment of the smartphone software distribution system than anything. I hate that we can't get security updates separate from platform level upgrades. Like, I really want to stay on KitKat on my Nexus 5 and have these security updates, and the fact that I can't, it's very, very annoying. I don't know what to do.
Well,
might have to grow up.
Well, what about? Yeah, yeah. I mean, where else would they come from? This, what model would you prefer? Like, even Windows makes you upgrade at some point to continue getting security patches, right?
Yeah, but like decades down the line, I'm still running Windows 7, and I'm going to be getting security updates for the next 5 years now. I don't have to move to Windows 10 just to get security patches.
Yeah,
is my point.
Yeah, no, that's true. I understand. In legal news, which we're generally not very good at, but I thought this was rather interesting, Microsoft and Google have agreed to bury the hatchet on something like they're dropping a record 20 lawsuits filed in the U.S. and Germany, some dating back to a half-decade concerning alleged copyright infringement stuff.
How many outstanding lawsuits are there, do you think, between companies in the mobile device space that... I mean, we're aware of, like, a few. Like, there's the Apple-Samsung ongoing struggle. But there must be hundreds upon hundreds of these, where just little patents... Qualcomm's always, trying to make sure people are paying their licenses for LTE tech and stuff, and Nokia's got some stuff like that as well. There's got to be a lot more than we really realize. But yeah, Microsoft and
they're constantly floating around. Yeah. This is especially interesting because for those of us who used to carry the Windows Phone flag, always the biggest problem, and Shri can probably back me up here. Our biggest complaint was that we couldn't get Google services on a Windows Phone to run at all because the companies were just so hated each other. On some levels. So while this does not directly affect any of that, to my knowledge, it is a promising sign that the companies may be learning to get along enough so that when Windows 10 phones become a thing, they'll already be able to run Android apps and so far.
I can't believe we don't have the Amazon Chromecast thing, Apple TV thing in the rundown here. That's the perfect counterexample to this.
We don't, but it sure is. See, why don't you tell us what happened? Why don't you tell us what actually happened there?
Amazon decided if it can't have what it wants, none of the other kids can have it too. Amazon decided it's not going to allow sales of an Apple TV or a Chromecast going forward on its site at all. It's not going to sell them. It's not going to allow marketplace resellers to distribute them. You're going to have to go to Apple, to Google, or to any of the dozens of other sites that will be happy to sell you one. Amazon's problem, it says, you use one of these devices. It's not going to work great with Amazon Prime services, if at all. And this is true, but this is also entirely Amazon's fault. The reason that you can't do your Prime Video on your Chromecast is because Amazon didn't make its Prime Video app work with Chromecast. It's not Google that's stopping this. So it's this bizarre like temper tantrum it's throwing. Like they should go out of their way to support us out of the box, or else we're not going to help them sell their products, which I'm sure Google and Apple are just crying about. They must be devastated.
Yeah. Let's talk about, just really quickly, for FYI for everybody, October 20th is when HTC is going to have a concert and a virtual show and a physical show and a new phone.
There's a concert?
And, yeah, there's like some kind of crazy thing going on at the unveiling. You got to be no. You got to be you got to be brilliant. Hashtag be brilliant. I think they're doing New York City and London, and this is where they're going to launch their fall hero device. Which, if it looks anything like the releases, I can't be the only one sitting here saying.
Oh. Well, the HTC Butterfly is what I'm interested in, to be honest.
Say again?
The HTC Butterfly is what I'm interested in.
Butterfly 3?
Yeah, I've always been interested in that series, but they always get something or the other wrong. Most probably the pricing.
Yeah, but I mean, they never released the Butterflies in the U.S., so it's like, I don't know. I have a hard time.
Same as the new Butterfly J.
This isn't like this. What they're looking to launch is the
Aero.
That phone that looks so much like the iPhone. It's just
A10 or something, like A series or something like that.
Yeah. Rumored. I really look forward to seeing it in person. I'm sure that in person, once again, as is always the case, it'll look better than the photos that we've seen, and there have been quite a few leaks. But it is, from those photos, it looks shameless. And I really hope that it has some of its own character to show off when we do get to see it.
I'm curious about this diamond talk here. The brilliant, the coal in the background there. Is it planning something?
Is that what that is?
I don't know. I don't know.
I will see. The iPhone 6 and 6S and 6S Plus have each spent 60 minutes underwater and come up none the worse for wear. This is this was confirmed recently by a teardown. Steven, did you write this one?
No, I did not.
I didn't think so.
It's this weird stuff going on now with smartphone waterproofing. We have like Sony that's telling you its phones are waterproof and then saying no, don't actually put them underwater. And Apple that's making no point to advertise water resistance, and its phones will hold up for an eon at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah, and while we
marketing this stuff right,
while we have HTC fresh on the brain as well, iFixit makes videos now, by the way. What?
Yeah.
While we have HTC fresh on the brain, somebody dropped a 1M8 in water for like a half hour when that was brand new, and that turned out to be fine. So yeah, this is not new, but it seems like this wasn't just a freak accident. From a cosmetic, they looked identical getting out as well as going in, even on the back after being dried up. Allegedly 48 hours of waiting for water to make it way around the intricate circuitry. Everything from Touch ID to audio charging and headphones seemed to work without a glitch.
Do it with salt water and I'll be impressed.
Ooh, salt water. Yeah, that's tricky stuff. So that's interesting, and I think this lends some, at least theoretical, credence to the rumors of the iPhone 7 when it comes out, maybe being marketed as a waterproof device.
Yeah, I wonder at what level of confidence Apple will need to have to advertise these as water fastness. Like, knowing Apple, these things are going to have to withstand like a fire hose before the company says, "Oh yeah, it's waterproof," because they don't want any. The reports will be all over the place. As launch day, someone takes it in the shower, it doesn't boot up again. It'd be a disaster.
Yeah, and they're going to have to factor in that cost. The inevitable added repair costs. Maybe we'll see AppleCare get more expensive. Who knows? There's a smartwatch coming out from Tag Heuer. How do you pronounce that?
I was going to ask. Flo pronounced it differently than me. I would say Heuer.
Yeah. From Tag Heuer. Serge. Ahmed, try to say Serge. It's not so difficult. So this is going to be a little bit more expensive than we expected. Is that right, Stephen?
You were going to drop.
We expected it to be expensive.
If you're gonna try, we heard before it'd be $1,400. Now they're saying $1,800. So clearly they're going after a whole different consumer there. Yeah, it'll be out, or they're gonna do like another launch thing. We've already seen that, or no, we haven't seen this. I don't think we've actually seen the fully assembled thing. They've told us it's going to be based on this Carrera existing electromechanical watch they have, but we haven't seen it with the LCD screen. So November, it's going to finally introduce this, and sales will begin. I don't know right away or in time for a holiday season or whatever, but 1,800 clams, save up.
That's one of those things I would have to like wear a suit to review it. Like I would never.
Yeah.
I would never put it on with some duds, some flannel.
Not going to show up.
What about you, Shri? Are you a wearable guy? Have you got a smartwatch on you?
No, I don't have any wearables. Mainly because I'm a college student and I don't have any money to,
Yeah, there's the rub.
Yeah, so this is out of the question, obviously. But I don't have any wearable experience, although I have I have gone hands-on with a few. But they're really like a couple of years ago or something. So
are they on your any of your wish lists? Do you really want to snag one of these? Not a Tag Heuer watch, but a Tag but even like a ZenWatch 2, something on the lower end of the price spectrum. Would that be something you'd be interested in picking up?
Honestly, at this point, not really. But maybe if I find a need for it sometime in the future, maybe. But right now, I don't see any like killer use case for at least my personal use.
Change your life, man.
Seriously, until they get that golden eye, the laser in there, cut a hole in the bottom of the train, I'm not interested.
That was a really tough mission too.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, in wearables, the Samsung Gear S2 is out today. Jules has ours. It's the reason our show started late, everybody. If you've just joined us since we started,
where'd you get this thing? I thought Best Buy didn't have it.
So Best Buy didn't have it at the initial location, and then I put in a different location, and Boomtown, they did have it, but I had to go drive to pick it up in Dorchester. And then I'm down there already, so I got to get some Olive Garden to go for lunch.
Word.
Yada, yada, yada. One thing leads to another. We start the podcast late. But anyway, Jules has the Gear S2, and he is going to unbox it for us.
The regular or the classic?
The Classic is not available for in-store pickup anywhere in Boston.
But I like the Classic. It's so pretty.
Everyone's all like
it's
amped on the
knurled,
Classic.
Michael.
And I don't like knurled coin edge things. It is not my bag necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Gear S2 release is done. Listener mail. Bong bong time. Let's bong bong it. Listener mail. Good. Thanks. I am tired of talking. Stephen, will you read the first listener mail for us all?
Oh, of course. So wait, what's this thing now? We're not giving people's names or
not giving last name.
Okay. Well, Greg V writes in about 3D Touch versus AirView. Greg writes, with the launch of the new S model iPhones, one of the biggest features this year has been the inclusion of 3D Touch, allowing us to preview content, faster navigation in iOS, all that good stuff. This reminds me of Samsung's feature AirView, that had been around since the days of the Galaxy S3, where you'd hover your finger over the display and it would sense it up there and give you a different level of interaction as opposed to actually touching it. In our time with the new iPhone, Greg wants to know, how do we think 3D Touch compares to AirView, and is forcefully touching the display easier to trigger than hover events? Well, I have not used neither of these, so I am deflecting to y'all.
I am happy to be deflected to.
Take that deflection? Right.
Yeah, it is a very intelligent comparison between 3D Touch and AirView because they're exactly the opposite, but they're in the same exact family.
So the same, yeah.
Yeah. With AirView, you hover above the screen with either a stylus, with either the S Pen or your finger on some models to access hover functions and previews and stuff. With 3D Touch, you try and put your finger through the screen, and then the screen realizes that and goes and reacts. So is one better than the other? Not necessarily, but 3D
faster,
Touch.
Do you think?
Yeah, well, no, because I mean, AirView once the screen realized that AirView was there, it was in hover mode, and then like you could just hover over links. It was just like having a mouse pointer, particularly with the S Pen.
But there's
with
not like some
on the
level of
Galaxy
delay
S4,
where it's like waiting to see if you're going to actually touch it or if you're going to hold and wait. Did it like
initially?
Take a beat?
Initially, yeah, but just once. Then once it knows it's in hovering mode, it'll just hover over everything.
Okay, I see what you mean.
You can move your finger as fast as you want. But in any case, like while on a basic level they're the same but different, and one is not really better than the other, 3D Touch is going to be way better than AirView because third-party developers are going to latch onto it. They're already doing it. You can 3D Touch on your Shazam logo on your Springboard and instantly start identifying a song rather than opening the app and then taking an action. You can force touch or 3D Touch on your calendar icon and see what your next appointment is. You can do a bunch of stuff that I'm about to say in the review video tonight if my voice doesn't give up before I have to record the VO for that. But 3D Touch, yeah, 3D Touch is going to be huge because Apple sells so many more iPhones, and they're all, all the developers are very incentivized to make their apps, to bring their apps up to date with the latest iPhones. And 3D Touch has so much of the attention right now; it's just going to be so huge.
That's so interesting, though. This comes down to the software, and not. I mean, these seem like big hardware features, yet it's all about the implementation in the OS and app support for them.
Yeah, I would say 3D Touch is quite good. It opens up like context menus when you press it. At first, I had my reservations because like how would you know how hard to press and stuff. But I think again that's another part of like getting used to it. Like one or 2 days. Like,
yes.
It's reliable once you get used to it. Like how hard you have to press it. Because it's like extending the functionality of the basic touchscreen with and I would say in the future, if it might sound crazy right now, but maybe in the future we'll have tactile like touchscreen displays. Like I think Microsoft has one, like a prototype of, when it actually gives you that feedback and it flexes or whatever according to your touch, your pressure and all that. So this is working towards that in a way.
Now, you know what I want is. I was thinking about right clicks. Now it's essentially what we're all trying to emulate here. We need some secondary input role.
Yeah.
I mean, fingerprint sensors on phones are already capacitive units. What if we get the capacitive touch sensor on phone in line with fingerprint scanners, and it can tell if you're using your index or your middle finger and respond differently based on what finger you're touching the phone with?
That
would
be.
Come on!
I would be half on board with that.
All right. Get working on it, manufacturers.
One thing that would be like, how would you implement this? Like, the user would have to remember, I'm going to use this index finger for this, and I'm going to use the second finger for something else. Remembering all that.
What I want is I want 3D Touch to start recognizing when I'm angry. Like like when a phone is not doing what you want and you get so frustrated. Like, come on! I want that to be right, and just like everything to get soothing in the software and a little banner just say settle down, and then maybe it opens up my Spotify Relaxo playlist and gets me a little chill.
Lavender scents start emitting from the back.
Yes! Oh, that's exactly right. We need a Yankee Candle phone. I just got a delivery of 4 Yankee Candles in my house. My house smells so freaking great. This is from Austin, second listener mail. Pocketnow team, I'm having a bit of a dilemma. I am currently using a Galaxy S5 paired with a Moto 360.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the added functionality of the smartwatch. However, I'm about to update my phone. I really want the new iPhone because I want to join the iPhone ecosystem. All my friends have iPhones, yada, 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 yada. So the question is it worth losing some of the functionality of my smartwatch for the benefit of being part of the iPhone ecosystem? Thanks for the help. Love the show. Austin, this is such a tough question. This is such a tough question because I want to write a piece with the headline, so using Android Wear on iOS kind of sucks, huh? Because it does. You can't voice respond to anything. Dom was saying he found battery life to be poor when his devices are paired with iOS device. I haven't found that, but the functionality is just hobbled. It sort of disconnects pretty often. You have to reconnect it manually, and it just and maybe it's the nerdy part of me, but they really don't. They philosophically are opposed to each other. Like they'll connect. It's like two coworkers that like really don't like each other, but they'll work together. It's like we'll work together. We'll get the job done for the company, but we're not going to hang out after 5 p.m. in any sense at all. So, yes, it's worth it, though. If all your friends have iPhones and you want that iMessage stuff, you want the MMS, the photos, video sharing apps, etc., all the stuff that living inside the Apple ecosystem can do for you. By the way, that's all the stuff Austin quoted in his email. Yeah, it's worth it because you'll still get notifications, and then for the first few weeks you'll try and act on them the way you're used to, and you're like, oh, I can't do that. It's just a Pebble. Okay.
But why not flip
the
watch
first gen
to the
Pebble? I should
watch?
say.
I mean, pay a little extra in the process, but.
Word up. That's the thing. Yeah. You're not going to get much more than what? What do you figure? $75 for a Moto 360 first gen in good condition?
Maybe $100 if you're lucky.
Well, you can get a new one for $100 if you're.
Yeah, but people are dumb about buying used stuff on Craigslist. They'll pay way too much to make a good ad.
It could be. Maybe Shri will buy it. Maybe we can put you in touch with Shri. He can have his first wearable experience.
Pocketnow Weekly, making things happen.
Shri, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that sounds
hear
terrible.
the enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, see, there's so much. I have to remember again. Like I have to charge it every day. Then I have to I have to have to deal with so many things.
Yeah.
That are not.
No, I know.
That I'm not used to.
Yeah.
And because this is like a pretty mature technology right here. This
What the old classic wristwatch?
Mm-hmm. It has got like about 1,000-year head start or something. At least 100 years. So.
I feel you. Will you read the last email from Ganesh, Stephen?
Sure. Ganesh is asking about jumping into the unknown, and the unknown in this case is Apple products. As an Android user, but thinking about trying something new, likes the look of this 6S Plus, and wants our guidance before going down this path. Some facts we should consider before giving him advice here. Heavy user of the Google ecosystem, Google Now, YouTube, Maps, Inbox, I assume that's Gmail. Consider myself a power user. Yeah. To tend to stray towards things like routing and custom ROMs. Okay. Didn't like Lollipop that much because it wasn't as intuitive as it needed to be, and thinks Apple might be doing things better in the UI with 3D Touch. And likes larger phones. This is why he's gravitating towards the Plus. Likes the look of the Note 5 and Nexus 6P on the Android side. So those are also contenders. So considering all of this, would it be worth it to give the 6S Plus a look? First impressions, I'm thinking it's not the best idea. If his only problem is the, Lollipop, you'd give Marshmallow a shot and see if it's a little more intuitive there in those cases where you felt that there were a little too many clicks involved for things. But this, if you're into flashing custom ROMs, you were going to get nothing.
Oh, exactly.
The jailbreak community, but that's very different.
You're gonna feel like a fish out of water. Really, I know how I feel because just using stock Android for a year now after being a part of that whole flashing custom ROMs almost every other day onto my device, just getting all the new stuff, the latest
nightlies.
Yeah, the nightlies or tweaking every single aspect of it, and when you see. I don't want my lock screen, clock widget or clock to be white in color. I can't change that anymore. It makes you feel a little sad.
Yeah, like back in the day, this might have been an okay transition. Like around the iPhone 3GS, iPhone 4, when jailbreaking was still a pretty substantially popular thing because the iPhone was so limited and there was so much that you could do if you jailbroke it and played around in Cydia and stuff like that. But I don't think it's a good time to do it. I don't think you'll be very happy, Ganesh. I think you should.
And there are a lot of good Android options out there in the phablet space. You already have access to the Google ecosystem. It seems like an obvious.
I mean, Google services might work all right with iOS, but again, going to the previous question, actually, even if you want to consider buying a wearable or something, and you have to buy, if you get an iPhone or you get a smartwatch which is Android Wear before you get the new phone or something, again, that will lead to even because you're so kind of deeply rooted into this Google ecosystem right now. Yeah. It's all about the familiarity with the ecosystem again. You'll have to transition to using other products or something. Maybe if you are more of a creative person and you use a lot of visual design kind of stuff, maybe I would have thought you could give the Apple side of things a chance because it's so much better over there. But this is a completely different,
Yeah. If we were just clearing out the Q&As because we got to get out of here because we're way over time. But Taylor Martin,
we're going to 5.
Taylor Martin informs us that he thinks his hair was better than either of
Pixar, it didn't
ours.
happen.
Presumably better than Shree's too, which I would take personally, Shree. I don't think that Taylor. I don't think it's very kind of Taylor to insult all of us on your first podcast, sir.
Yeah. Well, I just went to the barber and I said, I don't want to comb my hair for like 3 months now, so.
It's perfect. That's all the instruction you really need. And then, what are you missing the most, Jan Strasky? Jan is the most upvoted commenter today. What are you missing the most when you're reviewing the iPhone 6s Plus, which I have to get back to right now, and what iOS feature is seriously missing from Android? I always miss the same thing when I'm on an iPhone. It's customizing my home screen and being able to just do what I want, and that's really frustrating. And actually, Taylor may have made a good point about his hair based on.
Wait, no, isn't he asking the other way around? What iOS feature is missing from Android?
Well, he's asking twice, 2 questions. So what am I missing the most on the iPhone? And that's customization of the home screen, basically. Also, just the iPhone 6s Plus the hardware is not aged well. I don't think. The internal hardware is great, but I think Nilay Patel at The Verge said it best when he said it has the industrial design of something that was almost meant to be put in a case. It doesn't really. Yeah, it's. I don't think it's aged well. I don't think it looks kind of goofy actually, but on the other hand, what iOS feature is seriously missing from Android? I used to sort of poo-poo this. Like people would say, like, "Oh, the iOS apps are so much better. They feel so much more polished." But by and large, they really do. There are exceptions to that. Ingress works a lot better on Android because it was made by an in-house Google project. But like, Evernote is a good example. I use Evernote probably 150 times a day, and it's a much better experience on iOS. And that applies to a lot of apps. So that there is still an ecosystem gulf. It's just in quality and not in quantity. Also, Apple Pay makes it way too easy to spend money. I have spent so much money using Apple Pay because it doesn't feel real. It's like, I just tap my phone to this box and then and now I have this. This coffee is now mine.
How is the user experience any different than Android Pay, or do you just not have?
I don't know. I haven't used Android Pay. Yeah, and then that's the thing. That's what everyone comes back with. It's like, yeah, but Android Pay. Yeah, but Samsung Pay. Yes, but Apple Pay has had like a year-long head start almost on this. Or I may be exaggerating that. It has had a significant head start, and that's one of the benefits of getting an iOS device, is that it often has a significant head start in some of these areas. Well, yeah, I know. No, but you remember Google Wallet? Like, you remember what that was like? Can I pay with
last week when I could still use it? It was awesome.
Even now in Boston, I'll go like, can I pay with Android Pay here? And what? Well, we have Apple Pay. Yeah, I know you have Apple. Okay, never mind.
You don't ask. Just look for the icon and use it.
Right, but there wasn't an icon because there's not an icon. Anyway.
The real question is, do you pay with your watch though?
No, I can't pay with my Android watch, but if I had the Apple Watch still, I could pay with that. Anyway. And Jan Strasky again, the most upvoted question in the Q&A.
Yeah, why indeed?
Why wasn't Pocketnow invited to Google's event and Apple's event before that? Are you frustrated by this?
I can't imagine why we would be.
Really curious why they don't want the best reviewers there. P.S. Love you, Flo. We'll pass that along to Flo.
And
it's a long story. Yeah, I wish I could point to a specific thing. Like some outlets don't get invited because they run a lot of leaks, or they are militantly opposed to a certain OEM.
Yeah.
That is not the case with us. It's certainly not an audience problem. We have a plenty large audience, but I think that the thing is that personally speaking, we just don't have a relationship with Apple or Google in a PR sense that leads to us getting invited to these events. Yes, it's enormously frustrating. And if I had to speculate, it would be because.
I mean, we're also not really West Coast.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you go to an Apple event, you go to a Google event because the lead time that gives you with hands-on coverage itself pays
An
for
Apple event, sure. I don't know if there's a demand for the Nexus event. Not nearly on the same
I
scale.
think the Nexus events would, but think of it in aggregate. Like it's like here's my hands-on time with the 6P, which I eventually got anyway, thanks to being at PepCom. But you know, like having it the day of. Here's the thing with the 6P. Here's the thing with the 6X or the 5X. Here's the what the hell's the Pixel C? You know, here's all this stuff. Yeah, that's more than enough to justify the
so we get flight.
But yeah. So I mean, the solution to this for an outlet like us, like I was saying though, that YouTube audiences are not valued the same way that press outlet audiences are by some companies, particularly established ones. YouTubers, partly because of YouTube culture, which is sort of still predominantly immature. And
get out of gross. Town, Michael.
You know, is often dismissed as non-serious. So I think it'll take a little while longer. Even Marquez is just you know, recently we even was not getting invited to stuff because it's, oh, what is he, a YouTuber? Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, you know, the solution to this is to, of course, keep banging down their door and keep asking for invitations.
You happen to
which
work.
we have been doing.
Apple PR.
Yeah.
Or Google.
Yeah, so anyway.
Hi.
It's a long story, like I said. We got to get off this call because Steven and I are just talking over each other constantly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's your fault.
Oh, no, that does not sound right.
One question I saw in the Q&A was Moto X style versus the Nexus 5X. What should I buy? I would say, well...
No, we're not doing that. The reason I avoided the hell out of that, the reason I avoided that, because I get that question 1,400 times a day, and
I just say
I haven't even touched the 5X. You haven't even seen it. Like, I don't know. Like, what, you know, I don't know which one to get. Like, let us review it, and then we'll get to it. You know what I mean?
I just stopped giving recommendations a couple of years ago because people are ungrateful and horrible sometimes. That's a long story. I'm not going to go into it. But I just answer like MI 4C, Xiaomi Mi 4C, go to China, get it, or something, because...
Yeah. Get a
the right answer.
Samsung Continuum. No, I don't answer them because I don't know the people well enough. You know, that's why we typically like to ask some detailed questions about use cases, and maybe for a future segment we'll bring back what phone should I get, and then we can have informed answers to those questions. But until that time, we invite you folks to please, if you have an interest in Pocketnow growing enough to get invited to these events by default, please do spread the word, because we need your help to keep on growing. Be sure to find us on Twitter, folks. Pocketnow is at Pocketnow. Steven is at Steven Schenck. Shri is at SHRIDUSHYANT. Our guest, Florence Ion, is Oh That Flow, OHTHATFLO. And podcast producer Jules Wang is at Greenpoint0. And as always, I am at Captain Two Phones. Pocketnow is also there on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. It all comes together like carefully prepared faux Mexican ingredients in a burrito that you got yelled at to consume at Moe's Southwest Grill. If you enjoy the podcast, people need to know about it. I mean, just so much. Please, tell the people, tell your friends, tell everyone. It's a great way to ingratiate yourself to your new in-laws by telling them about the best mobile tech podcast there is. Right, Steven?
As far as I know, yes.
You can leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever else podcasts are heard on the web or in the world. And please remember, write to us. We love hearing from you. Podcast@pocketnow.com. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to Shri for joining us for the first time. Thanks to Wix.com. Pocketnow Weekly will be back with more mobile tech talk next week.